Imagine the endless desert of Rajasthan, India. The golden sands stretch for miles, glowing like fire under the setting sun. The wind howls across the dunes, carrying with it the scent of dust and something far darker, something that smells of abandonment, of death, of sorrow. As you travel deeper into the desert, you begin to notice broken walls scattered on both sides of the road. Roofless homes, temples without prayers, streets that lead nowhere. And then, it appears before your eyes. Khuldhara, a village frozen in time, a place abandoned by its people more than 2 centuries ago, and cursed forever. Even today, not a single soul dares to live here. The government allows visitors during the day, but when the sun dips below the horizon, the gates are locked, and everyone is forced to leave. Why? Because when darkness falls over Khuldhara, the ghosts of the past awaken. Centuries ago, Khuldhara was not just a village, it was a thriving community. Established around the 13th century by the Palawal Brahmins, this desert settlement was known for its intelligence, unity, and wealth. The Palawals were master farmers. In a land where water was a rarity, they designed complex irrigation systems, channeling water through underground networks, making the desert bloom. Their fields produced wheat, gram, and other crops that were otherwise impossible in such harsh terrain. Their trade routes extended beyond Rajasthan, bringing wealth and respect to their community. Stone mansions were built with intricate carvings, narrow lanes connected the houses, and temples rose proudly at the center of the village. By day, the streets echoed with the sound of laughter. Children played in the courtyards, women carried shining brass pots of water, and men gathered to discuss trade and harvest. By night, oil lamps lit every corner, and the village glowed like a jewel in the heart of the desert. Khuldhara was not just prosperous, it was powerful. But prosperity often attracts envy, and with envy comes doom. By the late 18th century, the region came under the rule of a man whose name is still remembered with fear. Salim Singh, the Divan of Jaisalmer. Salim Singh was known for 2 things: his unbearable greed and his lust for women. His cruelty was legendary. Villagers from across the kingdom trembled at the mention of his name. He demanded heavy taxes, and those who failed to pay were punished mercilessly. Crops were burned, homes were destroyed, families were torn apart. But what brought Salim Singh to Khuldhara was not tax, it was desire. Legends say that among the Palawals, there was a girl whose beauty rivaled the desert moon. Some say she was the daughter of the village chief. Others whisper she was the pride of the entire community. Her name has been lost in history, but her story still haunts the sands of Khuldhara. When Salim Singh saw her, he was captivated. Her face, her grace, her innocence, he wanted her. Not as a wife, not as a partner, but as his possession. The minister sent word to the leaders of Khuldhara, "Give me the girl, and I shall spare your people. Refuse me, and I will crush your village under my boots." The Palawals were horrified. To give away their daughter was to surrender their honor, but to refuse Salim Singh was to invite destruction. For days, the village was gripped with fear. Mothers wept, fathers raged, young men whispered of resistance, while elders prayed for guidance. The chief of Khuldhara gathered with the elders in the temple courtyard. The oil lamps flickered in the night wind. Faces were pale, voices heavy with despair. "How do we protect our honor?" one asked. "Do we sacrifice one to save thousands?" another whispered. "But if we surrender her, what will remain of us?" the chief replied. The silence grew heavy. The girl's fate hung over them like a sword. Every eye turned to the temple idol, as if begging for divine intervention. But the gods were silent. And so, the villagers were left with only one choice. It was a moonless night, sometime in the early 1800s. The stars were hidden, the desert winds carried an uneasy chill. One by one, lamps in Khuldhara were extinguished. Doors were shut, not with the hope of reopening them in the morning, but with the grief of finality. Men whispered instructions. Women packed what little they could carry. Children were hushed as mothers held their hands tightly. In complete silence, the entire community prepared to leave. Before stepping out, the elders of Khuldhara gathered in the temple one last time. They prayed not for themselves, but for their land, that no tyrant would ever touch it, that no family would ever be forced to live under such fear again. And in their anger, in their despair, they cursed Khuldhara. From this night forth, no one shall live here again. Whoever dares to settle here shall meet death. The words were heavy, the curse irreversible. And then, the Palawals disappeared into the desert. When dawn broke, Khuldhara was silent. The wells were still full of water. The food was still warm on the stoves. The streets looked alive, yet there was no one. Thousands of people vanished in a single night. To this day, no one knows where they went. Some say they scattered to nearby villages, blending into other communities. Others believe they vanished deeper into the desert, never to be seen again. But their absence left behind not just ruins, it left behind a wound that never healed. Now, imagine yourself walking through Khuldhara the morning after. The sand covers the doorsteps. The homes echo with silence. A pot of milk lies spilled near a doorway, its surface still white under the sun. A game of dice lies unfinished in the courtyard. A woman's anklet glitters half buried in the sand. It feels as if the villagers will return any moment, but they never do. Instead, the air feels heavier, the silence grows sharper, and the walls seem to whisper of betrayal, sorrow, and something darker, a curse. Travelers began to speak of strange experiences. Caravans passing near Khuldhara reported hearing voices carried by the wind. Not the normal whistle of desert storms, but faint, human whispers. A mother calling her child's name. The cry of a baby that never stops. The angry shouts of men in council. And sometimes the sound of anklets, delicate, metallic, echoing through the sand. Those who dared to step into the village at night claimed they felt invisible eyes on them. A shadow would move at the corner of their vision, but when they turned, nothing was there. Their bodies grew cold, even though the desert air was burning hot. In modern times, the government of Rajasthan declared that no one is allowed to stay overnight in Khuldhara. Visitors can roam the ruins during the day, but once the sun begins to set, guards blow their whistles, and the gates are closed. Because too many times, people who tried to spend the night reported terrifying encounters. A group of students once sneaked into Khuldhara after dark. They lit a fire, laughed at the stories, and mocked the legends. But by midnight, one of them began screaming. He claimed that someone was pulling his leg into the sand. His friends rushed to help, but found nothing there. The marks on his ankle remained for days, as if invisible hands had gripped him. Another account tells of tourists who decided to record paranormal activity. They set up cameras in the ruins and left them running overnight. In the morning, they found the equipment destroyed. The tapes that survived showed distorted figures, blurry faces, and at one moment a woman in traditional Rajasthani dress walking past the frame. But when the camera panned, no one was there. Several paranormal investigation groups have visited Khuldhara. What they found only deepened the mystery. Thermal cameras picked up human-shaped heat signatures in empty houses. EVP recordings captured whispers, some in Rajasthani dialect, others just moans. Investigators felt sudden drops in temperature, from the desert's 40 degrees Celsius heat to an icy chill. One team reported setting up a motion sensor in the main street. At 3:15 a.m., it was triggered. The camera showed the empty road, but the sensor picked up the footsteps of at least 3 people walking right past it. And then, the laughter of children echoed across the ruins. Among the most famous legends is that of the girl Salim Singh desired the reason Khuldhara was abandoned. Locals say her spirit still roams the village. Some claim to have seen her, draped in a red bridal dress, her face covered with a veil. She walks silently through the streets, anklets jingling, her footsteps leaving no prints in the sand. Those who dare to look beneath her veil never speak again. One story tells of a tourist guide who mocked the legend in front of visitors. He laughed, saying, "Show me this cursed bride. I fear no ghost." That night, his family said he returned home pale and trembling. He never revealed what he saw, but he refused to enter Khuldhara ever again. The ruins of Khuldhara are not just empty shells. Each home feels alive. Step inside one, and you may hear the creak of the doors that are no longer there. Pots rattle on their own. The floor crunches under your feet, as if bones are buried beneath. Some explorers report seeing shadows sitting in corners, staring with hollow eyes. Others hear breathing heavy, angry, animal-like breathing, though no one is near. One visitor described his experience in his diary. He wrote, "I entered a small house, its walls crumbling, its roof gone. Yet inside, I felt the weight of 100 eyes on me. A cold hand brushed my shoulder, though I was alone. I ran, but as I left, I heard a voice whisper my name." The curse did not spare even the children of Khuldhara. Their laughter, once pure and joyful, has become something twisted. Tourists often claim to hear children giggling in the courtyards. Sometimes the sound is sweet, until it suddenly turns into a scream. Other times, small shadows dart across the streets, vanishing into walls. At the heart of Khuldhara lies its temple, once filled with prayer, now consumed by silence. Locals believe it is the most haunted spot of all. The curse was spoken here. The gods, once worshipped here, became silent witnesses to the villagers' final act. Visitors say they feel an unbearable heaviness inside temple. Some faint the moment they cross the threshold. Others claim to see shadows moving against the walls, even when no light is present. One chilling account describes a man entering the temple at night. He lit a candle and began to pray, challenging the curse. Suddenly, the flame went out, though there was no wind. In the darkness, he heard dozens of voices chanting, a prayer not of peace, but of anger. He ran, screaming, and swore never to return. Even today, taxi drivers refuse to wait outside Khuldhara after dark. Locals from nearby villages tell stories of seeing flickering lights at night, as if the oil lamps of the pala walls are still burning. Some say they hear processions in the distance, the sound of carts, bells, and chants, as if the villagers are still leaving, night after night, reliving their final escape. A few brave souls who camped near the ruins tell of dreams so vivid they wake up screaming. Dreams of being chased, of being buried alive in sand, of drowning in dry wells. One man said he dreamt of sitting in a council of villagers, all staring at him with hollow eyes, asking him to join them. When he woke, his body was covered in sand, though he had been sleeping inside a tent. Some believe the curse remains because the villagers' souls never found peace. They left their homes, but their pain, fear, and anger tied them to the land forever. Others think the gods themselves sealed Khuldhara as punishment, that the curse was not just the villagers' words, but divine wrath. So, if you ever find yourself wandering through the deserts of Rajasthan and you come across the broken gates of Khuldhara, remember this: do not stay after sunset. Do not mock the silence. Do not call out the names of the dead. Because Khuldhara is not just abandoned, it is alive. The villagers may be gone, but their shadows remain, and they are watching, always. The story of Khuldhara is not just history. It is a wound carved by greed, by lust, by betrayal. A wound that never healed. For over 200 years, the curse has held strong. No king, no government, no ghost hunter has been able to break it. And so, the ruins stand, silent by day, alive by night. And if you ever hear the sound of anklets in the desert wind, remember, it may not be the wind at all. It may be her, the cursed bride of Khuldhara, waiting for you to lift her veil. So friends, if you liked this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.